Welcome to Wealth Matters Podcast. I have with me Antoine Martel, who is a 25-year-old real estate investor from Toronto, Canada. While still in college, Anthony learned about real estate investing and knew it was his calling. From his dorm room, he completed his first BRRRR, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat strategy out of state with his father's $40,000. And if you guys don't remember, I also interviewed his dad, Eric Martel, on the podcast last year. As of now, they've also helped create $50,000 per month of cash flow for their clients of martelturnkey.com. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Antoine, so 25, that's amazing. I did not have anyone less than, I would say, 35 yet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning from you, even though I'm 40, of course, you are learning every day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I got started super young too. I mean, it was like I was 19 or it was 2015, so 5 years ago. So I was like 19 or 20 years old when I first even got introduced to real estate. So yeah, I started super young as well. And then during college, I was like, all right, I want to figure out this real estate thing. I don't want to go work for somebody else after college or graduating college. I want to do my own thing. And luckily, I was able to do it while I was in my dorm room, do my first deal. So thankfully, I was able to make that happen, and then kept doing BRRRRs after college, which then turned into what we're doing now, which is the turnkey company. So
That's awesome. Yeah. So share with my listeners something interesting about yourself, which we wouldn't know or which we wouldn't even be able to guess.
Man, I don't know. I mean, things I do besides work, I guess, are I play soccer 3 to 5 times a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I played college soccer. I played at community college, and then I played down here at Loyola Marymount University. And it was in the introduction, but most people don't know I was actually born in Canada. So that's another big thing too, that people think I was born in the States or something like that. But no, we came here in 2000 to the Bay Area from Toronto. Then we got our citizenship in like 2010. So it took us like 10 years to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I came at the same time, and I got my permanent residency in 2010 and became citizen in 2015. Yep. So yeah, it does take a while.
It takes a long time, yeah.
So let's talk about your first deal at 19 or 20. What was your first deal? What did you do?
So I was in college. My brother took me and my dad to like a real estate investing seminar. And we had like learned about flipping houses, buying real estate, apartment buildings, wholesaling, all that kind of stuff. And from there, we were kind of like, all right, let's try to go figure this thing out. And then we tried for 3 or 6 months to try to like flip houses and do wholesaling in the Bay Area. Quickly, we realized that we like didn't have enough money, didn't know enough people, and it was just to be way too difficult to do it.
And it's too risky. Bay Area means you are putting $1 million, in one place, right? So you are almost putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the other big risk too. And then, we didn't have enough capital. So then we're raising hard money, gap funds, all this kind of stuff. And It just didn't make much sense at the end of the day for the amount of money you were going to net, because you had to pay all these other people. So what I ended up doing was looking at other affordable ways to get into real estate. So really started networking a lot on Bigger Pockets and all this kind of stuff to find out how other people were doing it. Because I know not everybody starts off with $1 million in cash. Some people must have way less funds. So what I did, I started just networking with people, learning how they were doing it, how they were investing, learned about out-of-state investing, and then kind of just went into full research mode on choosing and finding a market out of state, and did some research and homework on the 250 top MSAs in the USA, and then found out that Memphis, Tennessee was a great place to invest based on that data. Then built a team in Memphis, Tennessee, and started making offers on deals in Memphis, Tennessee, and finally, before graduating college, put that first house under contract. And I think we bought it for my dad had 40 grand saved up that we wanted to invest. And we bought it for 35,000, renovated it for 5,000, and then it was worth like 55,000 bucks after. And then we just bought it, renovated it, rented it out, and then did a cash out refinance. Pulled all the money out, and then kind of after graduating college, I just like kept turning that money over and over and over again.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about. So of course, you started, from Memphis, right? And you went to a lot of. So how did you start with flipping properties, though? Right? What did you and why flipping?
Yeah, I graduated in May, and then by the end of that year, I just like kept doing BRRRR projects out of state in Memphis with that same team. And then by the end of the year, we had like 8 to 10 single family homes in Memphis. Then from there, once we had that portfolio, then people started reaching out to us like, hey, how do we invest in real estate? We want to invest out of state. We have 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. How do we get started? We've tried to do it in California. It's too expensive. And then, we were like, well, we can show you what we're doing, or you can invest with us or whatever. And then we were eventually just like, hey, how about you just buy properties that, we finished that we haven't refinanced yet. How about you buy properties from us and we'll sell them to you turnkey instead. So now we would go buy the house, rehab it, rent it out, and then sell it instead of refinancing and make a profit. So it would be like a flip for us.
Right.
It would be a turnkey flip, not a traditional one. And so that's how we started flipping. And then we've been doing that since I graduated. So 2017, so 3 years now. And we're doing, around 10 houses a month in Memphis, Tennessee, and Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow. 10 houses a month. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So how do you find those properties? Because you got to share the secret sauce with us.
Yeah, it's no secret. I mean, when I started, it was 80% MLS. So Zillow, Redfin, all those kinds of places, just looking at them every single day. And then now it's kind of probably like 60% MLS and 40% wholesalers. So really just networking with wholesalers, sharing with them what kind of deals you're looking for. And that's kind of how we're doing it now. So 60% MLS, 40% wholesalers, and just finding the right wholesalers and then being like easy to work with the wholesalers too has kind of been one of the keys to making it successful.
Right. Yeah. Once they know that you're going to close without any hassle, then they know that, they'll come to you. Right. Yeah. So do you also do your own marketing to acquire those properties, or mainly MLS and wholesalers?
Yeah, we tried it at the very beginning, like in 2018. It was just taking too much time and too much effort. Like it was like a whole other business. So actually what I ended up doing at the beginning of this year, I hired 2 of my friends from college and taught them about wholesaling. And I said, hey, we got a big buyer for you too, which is Martel Turnkey now. So I taught them how to wholesale deals in Memphis, Tennessee, and Cleveland, Ohio. And now they're wholesaling deals to us, the turnkey company. So it worked out pretty nicely.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So they're doing a couple deals a month now, wholesaling to us or other investors. So yeah, that's what we ended up doing instead, because it takes so much time. It's a full-time job, just like marketing, keeping track of all the leads, doing marketing the right way. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
And what's your business model? Of course, I understood that you buy, rehab, and pretty much flip it as turnkey. But what kind of numbers do you look at? It has to match 70% ARV, or what do you look at? If you can take.
Yeah, a lot of people look at that 70% ARV. Right. I think that's very hard to find. I mean,
now it's very hard. 5 years ago, yes, maybe. Now it's.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's really hard to find, especially because we're selling houses for like $80,000-$90,000, so they're very expensive properties. So finding 70% of that, so being all in for like $60,000 and selling it for 90 or 80, it's there's not that spread does not exist.
Right.
What we look for with a deal is just all of our exit strategies need to make sense. So selling it turnkey, refinancing, and then also holding it just cash. If things go south, do we need to hold the property cash? Do we still make a good return? Are we still cash flow positive, et cetera? So we look at all those different things. The biggest thing we probably look for is like, what can we sell the property for to our turnkey client? So like we try to hit a certain numbers. So like a 8% cap rate, 15% cash on cash return for our end buyer. So every house we analyze, we make sure that, Martel Turnkey has a profit margin, but then also our turnkey client is making the kinds of returns that we know will sell well on our website. So there's a lot of the guys who do the acquisitions, they look at all three of those different exit strategies when they're looking at buying a deal, to make sure that the deal is going to make sense for us.
So what is the sweet spot for the price as well as the rent then? What have you seen in both markets?
Yeah, so 1% rule is a pretty good number, whether it's a little bit below or a little bit higher. The 1% rule has kind of been the magic number. I mean, for duplexes, you might get like a 1.2 or something like that, but I don't know. It kind of depends as we get into different kinds of neighborhoods, like more B plus neighborhoods.
Of course,
that rent to value, rent to value ratio goes down.
Yeah, and so sorry to interrupt, but I just want to remind my listeners that rent to price ratio 1% means that if you buy $100,000 property, you want to earn $1,000 per month in rent. Personally, I go between 0.8 to 1.2. That's my criteria. Anything over 1.2, I think it's C minus, D, or even worse neighborhoods, right? And becomes too risky. Anything less than 0.8, then I know if I get hit with CapEx, I'm going to lose everything. Or if I have vacancy for a couple of months, I'm not making anything. So go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100% agree. I think I took an average like a year or so ago of the average rent to value ratio, and we were like at 1.08 or 1.1 ish.
Okay.
And that was kind of our sweet spot number for most, and that was mostly C class a year ago. Now we've gotten into more B class, so it's kind of gone down a little bit, maybe to closer to the right at the 1% rule.
So now you went from C to B. So what's the price point on the C class neighborhood, the houses, versus the B class neighborhoods? And how does the rent change as well?
So the C class properties are going to be probably like $70,000 to $80,000 price points, and then the B class properties will be from 80 to 100. Rents change a little. Like one of our top areas is in a little neighborhood and zip code in Cleveland, Ohio, and the values there are like 90 to 95,000, and the rents are right at that number, 925, 950.
Okay.
Then we have another C class area where the properties sell for like 70 to 80 grand, and the rents are 800, 825. So that's kind of how it changes. Really, just like $100 price difference in rent, but tens of thousands of dollars in value there for the properties.
Right. And why did you switch from or also started moving into B class neighborhood? Was that because you were able to find good deals, or did you see that investors want the B class properties because everyone thinks that real estate at some point is going to correct, especially in West Coast markets or Western markets.
So we were just looking for more areas to do more deals. So we were just like tapping out. We were doing 5 or 6 houses a month, and we're like, hey, how do we do more? How do we do more? Okay, let's add more zip codes. And so we had kind of tapped out all the C class areas. So we started adding. I'm not going to go do D class areas. No. So the only thing was to go and do B. So started just adding B class properties with a higher price point, and just doing educating ourselves on what the values are in those neighborhoods. So it was kind of really just trying to do more deals a month. We kind of had to add more real estate zip codes to our acquisitions portfolio.
Yeah, and my personal story, my very first investment, real estate investment ever out of state, was in Cleveland in 2015 in a D-class neighborhood, and lost all of my capital after a year. Didn't make anything. So I learned my lessons, right? So it has to be B or C class. There is no way, I would go after, and that was like more than 2% rent to price ratio, and I realized quickly that it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So no,
there's some people online that are still preaching the 2%. I think they're out of their minds.
It's scary because one thing I also learned that when your rent is below 650, then you're not going to attract the right kind of tenant, right?
Yeah.
So, and what that equates to, that you got to have, $65,000, $70,000 worth of property.
Yeah.
On the flip side, also, if it's more than 70 grand, at least you can finance it too,
Yep.
right? So that's also true, right? Tell me about this. What kind of buyers do you see? Are they more cash buyers, or they use IRA or 401k to buy, or they prefer to do financing?
Yeah. So 95% of our clients will do conventional financing on the
Okay.
properties. And then we'll connect them with a lender to help them get the loan on the property. They'll handle the appraisal, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we connect them with a lender that we have a good relationship with, and they'll go ahead and use financing. Finding a cash buyer, I think we've done like one or two out of the 200 houses. And so, yeah, there hasn't been many cash buyers that have come across. And then the 401k or IRAs or self-directed accounts like that, it's hard. You can get financing, but it's not that great. It's
No,
like
yeah,
50% loan to values. And yeah.
and then you end up, once you get the financing, then you end up paying UB to or UDFI, right? So that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
tax as well. So you are putting a tax advantaged investment into a tax deferred
Yeah.
investment,
Yeah.
right? And then you got to pay tax on it, so you already lose the depreciation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I don't like it. But I know some people prefer to, and I like that most of your buyers, they are very smart. That means that they are using conventional financing, that they are able to leverage their money, right?
Yep.
You just have to put 20-30 grand down, and you are able to acquire property, so you
Exactly.
can keep scaling up faster.
Yep.
That's great. Why don't you flip in California? I thought we spoke, but maybe now that you have learned the ropes in 5 years, and you have built the team out of state, I think you should be able to do it in California. But what's stopping you? And both of us are in California. Right?
Yeah. What's stopping me, I guess, would just be putting so much eggs in one basket. Still, like, all right, I could do it, but I would still be putting like so much of my cash, energy, time, and then because of that, my energy and time, that I think it would just be a total time suck. And also just the ROIs and the spreads and margins that people are hitting here are like single digits. And then I think out of state, I can get double digit returns on my margin. So it's like, yeah, it's a lot more work to do. Like, I'd rather go out of state and flip an apartment building for the same price as a single family home here in California.
Right.
I can get the cash flow. It's much safer. I have a property manager manage everything for me. So that's what I would rather do out of state compared to do stuff in California, even still to this day. Yeah, it's still isn't the right time. Maybe in a couple of years when
I think so, in a couple of years.
but yeah,
and a couple of years I'll hit you up so that we could look into that. But also one more thing, that your buyer pool is reduced even after putting so much money, because you are mostly going to attract first time or second time home buyers in California. But
yeah,
whereas when you are your purchase price is 100 grand on a house, you have not only those first time home buyers, plus
yeah,
investors who are interested in those properties, right?
yeah.
So that's another risk reduction, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, because anybody with 20,000 in the bank and like a 680 credit score can buy
Exactly.
one of our properties. So it's a very low barrier to entry.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the gotchas, right, while trying to flip out of state.
Okay. Like one of the what do you mean by that? Like a myth or some of the
Yes, things you have to keep in mind. Let's say I want to start flipping, or build the turnkey business, or whatsoever out of state. What are some of the things you have to keep in mind? You could get screwed. You could be screwed, basically.
Yeah. So there's a plethora of ways, because you're not really there, right? So
Right.
the first thing is like the team on the ground and having that trust with the team on the ground. So that's probably the hardest thing and takes the most amount of time to build on the ground. After you do the market research, it's building that team on the ground. So the property manager, the realtor, the contractor, finding those people on the ground and then trusting them and then starting off doing projects with them and scaling up with them. So that's probably the biggest thing is building those people on the ground. Once you have those people on the ground, then they're going to take care of you and watch your back and do all those kinds of things. But the biggest thing and hardest hurdle is really just building that initial team on the ground that's going to start, going out there looking for properties and then, making sure your properties are successful.
Right. No, that's the key. Team, right? It's in real estate after location, it's the team.
Yeah.
It's a team sport. And I keep telling everyone that you got to be prepared, right?
Yeah.
And build that team out before you start, diving in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about COVID-19. I always want to, talk about that as well. How has COVID-19 impacted your business, or was there an impact?
So there has been an impact. It's definitely delayed our closings a little bit because our lender who used to close deals in 30 days is now doing them in like 60 days.
Right.
The reason why is because they've been so bogged down with all these refinances.
Crazy, the rates. I refinanced as well.
Yeah, everybody refinanced. So, and because of that, then all these appraisers are so busy, which, takes them a while to get out to the houses. So just the financing process has kind of slowed down a little bit. And then also just getting certain materials. So like appliances or getting windows or getting certain things into your properties is just taking a lot longer than it should be. It should be just a couple of weeks. Now it's taking, it could take 1 to 2 months to get the window in or this special tool, special thing. So a lot of just supply chain issues with the construction has taken a lot longer than it.
Yeah, and I have I'm buying lots in close to Bakersfield, and we are trying to start the construction. We are doing the new house build, and we saw the lumber prices have doubled in 6 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like, it just changes our calculations. I'm glad that we have enough buffer, but I was like, wow, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I know somebody told me that too. They were building a new house in like Atlanta or something like that, and he was saying that his lumber prices, he demoed land. He's like, I should have used the trees as the lumber because the amount of money I'm spending on this damn lumber is ridiculous. So,
right. What was your best, and then we can talk about worst deal?
So best deal is the deal that we're getting ready to sell right now. We bought a 20-unit building in Memphis, Tennessee for, I think, right around $1 million. We got a loan on it for like 65% LTV. It was our first apartment building deal we ever bought. So put a couple $100,000 down, spent a couple $100,000 on renovating it. The rents were like $400 a month when we bought it. We renovated it, made the rents $850 a month.
Whoa!
Doubled the rents, and therefore doubled the value. So the building,
right, of course,
probably right around $2 million. And so we're all in. I mean, $2 million. We put a couple $100,000 down, a couple $100,000 in renovation. But we owe it's worth $2.2 million, and then we owe like $650. So
right, and if you don't sell it, even if you just do a refi, all of your money's out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you still cash flow.
Yeah, so we're exploring both options. So I'm going to try to go refinance first, see if it works out. If not, then I'm going to just turn and sell it. But yeah, something needs to happen. There's so much cash sitting in that property.
Yeah.
So
equity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And
exactly.
What was your worst deal so far?
Worst deal was probably, there hasn't been that many bad deals where we've lost money. There's been very, very few. One of the deals we lost money was a property in St. Louis, a single family home turnkey rental property that we're trying to sell. And it was bad because the team was not all that great on the ground, and they were mismanaging the project. There was also a lot of city inspectors involved that we didn't know about. Our team obviously didn't know about. So St. Louis, the way it's set up, has all these different like municipalities. Like there's literally 80 of them, and they all like have their own rules and regulations around real estate. So some of them have a city inspector when you lease it. Some of them have a city inspector when you buy it or when you sell it.
Right.
And some of them have all three. And so this place, it was like there was a city inspector at the house like every week, like checking on certain things. It was ridiculous. And then they would come up with a whole new list of stuff like, hey, you need to fix all these things. Hey, you need to fix all these things. And like they were huge expenses that, should have been in the budget originally, but our team just didn't know. Like they were based there in St. Louis and they had a property management company, and they should have been handling that, and they just were not. So that was probably one of the biggest deals. I think we lost like 20 grand or something like that. So it wasn't that big of a hit.
It's not that bad. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because I started, turnkey investing in Midwest, Milwaukee and Iowa market. And I noticed that the city inspector, maybe it has to do with Milwaukee. That's what I thought, but maybe it's Midwest. A lot of the areas they have, city inspector before moving in, before moving out. The tenants can just call. Even sometimes they don't even call property manager; they just call the city inspector.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And I get I get fines like crazy. And then I started investing in Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Dallas, Texas, and I have not seen any city inspector whatsoever. I haven't even. So I don't know, but that's just what I've seen.
Wow. Yeah, because in Cleveland, Ohio, too, we have there's a lot of city inspectors and stuff like that. In Memphis, Tennessee, there's nothing.
See, it's Midwest. I think it has to do with the Midwest.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's weird.
But yeah, it's interesting. So what did you learn from that deal, though?
To have the right team on the ground that understands, what they're doing and understands the entire business model, and then knows all those different municipalities. And that's the thing. Like our team in Cleveland does do that. Like they know all these municipalities. They know the people that run the system. They know the government officials in those areas, et cetera. So we don't have to worry about it or think about it. We know that, if the driveway blocks are cracked in this zip code or this area, like we're going to have to fix them because the city inspector is going to come and make us do it. Right. So that's just having the right team on the ground at the end of the day and doing your homework. And thank God we only did one house with that team. We didn't go and buy 5 or 10 or 20. So we started off slowly. And so thankfully we did that.
No, that's a great point, though. I tell everyone that you got to learn as much as you can, but get started. But also, start slow, right? You want that first property may not, it may not be a huge blockbuster, right? But you want to make sure you learn as much as from it, and then you'll be able to apply that knowledge to your second, third, fourth properties, right?
Yep.
Oh, this is great. So let's take a quick break, and after the break, we'll, I'll go through the usual questions I asked every guest.
Cool.
Welcome back to Wealth Matters Podcast, and I'm chatting with Antoine. Are you ready for fire round?
Let's do it.
Okay. Would you be changing any business or investment strategy after coronavirus?
No, we will not. Same as always.
Got it. Favorite real estate or finance or any other related book?
There's a book by Ryan Serhant called "Sell It Like Serhant." That's probably one of my favorite.
I have not
sales
heard
book.
Of that one.
Sales books. Yeah,
look it up for sure. And this is why I asked this question, because I'm selfish, right? I love reading books, and everyone has some recommendation which I have not heard of, right?
Yep.
Any tool or website you recommend or you can't live without?
We use Zoho CRM for pretty much tracking everything. So using a CRM system, and then also my to-do list, which is always on the right-hand side of my big monitor here. So I just use it's called literally To Do on the App Store.
Oh, awesome. Any advice for beginner investors?
Like you said, get started. I mean, if the deal makes a good return, 10 or 20%, or if you're in California, 6%, then do it. I think that most people just try to always find, like you said, the blockbuster deal with 20, 30, 40, 50% returns. That doesn't happen. For every
Yeah.
100 base hits, I get one blockbuster deal. So if you think your first deal is going to be you know, an amazing one, think again. So just go do a deal that's safe and comfortable and you feel like you can manage and handle. And then, even if the deal goes south, do some numbers on what's the worst case scenario. And most of the times it's not that bad.
Man, great advice, right? And this is coming from someone who does 120 houses or deals a year, right? Don't
Yeah.
get into analysis paralysis. I keep telling everyone that you got to, all the theoretical knowledge, all these podcasts, YouTube channels, they are very helpful, bigger pockets. But unless you take that plunge, unless you take the action, you are not going to learn.
Yep. 100%.
How do you give back?
Give back. We need to start doing more of that. It's hard because we're not in the market. So we used to sponsor, they had these food drives in Memphis, Tennessee. Cause there is a lot of you know,
Yes.
homeless people and
Yeah.
hungry people in our markets, Memphis,
Everywhere. And both
Tennessee.
those markets, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I want to eventually do something to help those people in those markets, especially, and whether that's building housing for them or doing something like that. But there's something in the plans that we have in the future, just coming up with the right plan for that.
Hey, how can my listeners reach out to you?
So the best place is probably going to be on Instagram. They can go follow me, shoot me a DM at Martel Antoine on Instagram.
Okay. And can you mention about Eric's book as well? Because I know we
Yeah,
had
sure.
Eric on the podcast, if you can bring that up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so he has a book coming out in the next, I think it's launching next week. It'll be on Amazon for I think he's going to do a deal where it's $1 or free or something like that. So, yeah, next week. When's this podcast go live? Do you know?
So this podcast should go live in a month or so.
Okay,
Um,
so so if you're listening to this podcast now, then go on Amazon and just search in Eric Martel, and his book should pop up right there. And I think there should still be a discount going on where you can get the book for just $1 or $2.
yeah,
So,
and if you are interested in buying as well or looking for a deal on that book, let me know. I can always reach out to Antoine or Eric.
yeah, sounds good. Do that too.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great
Thank you so
weekend.
much. Thanks for having me. See ya.
So that was a great podcast, learning from a 25 years old investor. I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion and I hope you do too. Would you do me a favor and go subscribe for this podcast on iTunes, share with your friends, leave a 5-star or at least honest review or rating. That would really help me attract celebrity guests as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. Till then, have a great day and enjoy.